What's good, YouTube? It's your boy KingSupreme. Back in the video that we got Jordan Peterson debates with intelligent student on hate speech. You're not new here. Welcome to the channel, homies. Just be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share if you want to see more bangers from your boy. You feel me? Because the grind never stops. But hey, today we got some more of that boy Jordan Peterson, man. Hey, I want to get some more videos from him. Very interesting stuff. I read to the first couple videos of him. Very interesting, bro. It's a lot. Hey, I just love that, we can talk about these sort of things. Again, I'm giving my opinion on these videos, so I'm gonna give y'all, if he's saying something, valid, I'm gonna say. If he's saying something I feel like I'm gonna say it. So again, as I said, it's an open discussion in the comments. Let me know after this video how y'all felt about the video, how y'all felt about my opinions, how y'all felt about his opinions, and just in general. Open discussion. Not gonna delete none of y'all comments, none of that. Say whatever y'all wanna say. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna see how this one is. But yeah, the first couple videos have been insane though. Jordan Peterson be talking that talk. But let's see. This is a very interesting kind of setup. Like, I've never seen anything like this right here. I don't know. Let's see what they gotta say though, man.
I just want to first thank your comments on things like political correctness and the obsession of certain elements of the left on campuses to screen out discourse, because I genuinely think that is an issue and problem in status quo. But following on from that, I just want to pick your thoughts on what you say about freedom of speech and discussions in general, right? Because you basically flagged that, I think, in your answers just then, that freedom of speech has an instrumental purpose. It's there to help us find truth, correct me if I'm wrong, to identify the correctness or the logos against the possible consequence of blood and death. So here's the question, right? If I, as an individual, am affected by discourse in a way that doesn't cause physical violence, so that's not banned by hate speech laws and whatnot, but makes me feel so deeply uncomfortable that I don't belong to society or this community, or when I say something, whenever I try to say something, I'm ridiculed because of my race, the way I talk, or my gender, or the way I behave, then surely that means that my valuable insight to contribute towards logos, towards the pursuit of truth, is shut out by other people's more vociferous speech and more dominant speech. And this is what we see in cases of campuses, whether it be from the right or the left, of people using very violent and loud language to drown out dissent, to drown out those who oppose them on campuses in society.
They're using very violent, loud language to drown out those who oppose them on campus. Interesting, man.
And whenever I try to say something, I'm ridiculed because of my race, the way I talk, or my gender, or the way I behave, then surely that means that my valuable insight to contribute towards logos, towards the pursuit of truth, is shut out by other people's more vociferous speech and more dominant speech. And this is what we see in cases of campuses, whether it be from the right or the left, of people using very violent and loud language to drown out dissent, to drown out those who oppose them on campuses, in society and whatnot. From Donald Trump to people in Swarthmore, we've seen this happen. So wouldn't you say that the attempt to claw back or the right of freedom of speech isn't so far absolute as instrumental? And based on that, therefore, there are some cases where freedom of speech of some individuals can be curtailed if we want to get the better appreciation of the logos and a better inclusion of more voices that are currently being shut out as a result of the extremity and radicalism of those select few. Wouldn't you say that's the case? Thank you.
Well, he said.
Well, there's a very simple answer to that, which is yes, but I'll elaborate. I mean, the first thing is, I'm not an admirer of hate speech laws, but that doesn't mean that I'm naive enough to think that there's no such thing as hate speech. So obviously, if you've ever been involved in an extremely serious argument, you know perfectly well that there's such a thing as hate speech, because you've probably uttered some. So, and there's also no doubt that there are forms of speech that are utterly reprehensible, and some of those are actually already punished by law. You can't incite to violence, you can't libel someone, right? So we have some restrictions already on what's acceptable discourse. Whether it's the case, typically speaking, that some people have more privileged access to free speech than others, well, that's obviously the case. I mean, that's part of power. And power is one of the means by which people climb hierarchies, although the more you can climb a hierarchy by exercising power, the more that's an indication of the fact that that hierarchy has become corrupt. So there's no doubt that these structural impediments to the free exchange of discourse exist. There's also no doubt, as you already laid out, that that's not in everyone's best interest, because what you want, if you have any sense in your society, and this is also why I think that we've put proper emphasis on the sovereignty of the individual is that you want everyone's logos to have the opportunity to clarify the unknown and reconstitute the world. And if you shut that down, then you risk getting access to the unique insights that that individual might bring. Okay, so I agree.
If you shut that down, then you risk hearing that the unique insight that that person has. If you shut down what they say just because they get to a certain level of power. So he's saying, like, no matter what, you know, kind of on the people, because the kid was like more like on the point of, you know, these people just kind of drown out, you know, people who, if they don't have like their opinion, they drown out. And he's like more, you know, obviously anyone who has more power or, you know, big, whatever it is, bigger following, whatever, more power, whatever, their voice is going to be heard more just because of the standing they're on, because they got more power. I kind of understand where he's coming from. I know he's got to explain more of his point, but I think I'm on the right track because I'm trying to hear both sides.
Proper emphasis on the sovereignty of the individual is that you want everyone's logos to have the opportunity to clarify the unknown and reconstitute the world. And if you shut that down, then you risk getting access to the unique insights that that individual might bring. Okay, so I agree with your diagnosis completely. And I think that, you know, even in the West, to ignore the fact that many of our hierarchies tilt towards tyranny and that prejudice still exists in multiple forms is a mistake, although it's only one factor among many and shouldn't be identified as the primary causal determinant of each individual's life. I think that's a dreadful error. The question is, what do you do about it? And the devil's in the details. And as I said already, I'm not an admirer, for example, of hate speech laws, even though there's plenty of hateful speech, because I think the best thing to do is to leave free speech alone as much as you possibly can. Not because that will result in the perfect conditions for free speech, but because anything else that you're likely to do is going to make it worse rather than better. And so that's how it looks to me.
Worse rather than better.
Can I just follow very quickly? So, just want to pick your brains on hate speech laws, because it seems that you agree that the pursuit of logos and logic and some sort of achievement of individualization, individual autonomy that is the end goal of discussion here, right? So let's assume, like, correct me if I'm wrong again, that's the end objective. Here's the thing, it seems
I wouldn't say that exactly. I wouldn't say that exactly. I think that's too individualistic. I would say that what you want is two things happening simultaneously, is that you want to maximize individual development, but you want to do that in a way that brings the greatest amount of harmony simultaneously possible to the familial unit and also to the broader social unit. So those interests have to be stacked. It's like what's best for you, but that's also in a manner that's best for your family and for your community. So it's not purely individual.
So on that basis of achieving communal harmony and individual freedom at the same time, wouldn't you say that there's certain forms of free speech or hate speech that are so vehement?
I ain't gonna lie. I love these type of debate videos. Really interesting to me. I love hearing both sides of things, different things, and you know, he's saying, you know, my dog Jordan Peterson. You know, so I agree with your point, but at the same time, it's a little deeper. It's a little deeper. You know what I'm saying? Deeper issue or a deeper rooted thing. But I do appreciate this dude. Yeah, I don't know where college they're at. Again, I don't know. I honestly don't know if there's a college, whatever that. I don't know where they're at, bro. But I do really appreciate, respect how passionate my student right here is with his talking, because I guess you could say going against debate, whatever you want to call it. Jordan Peterson, bro. A lot of people, they might not choke on their words, whatever. Like, he's really, you can tell he's passionate about what he's saying, and he's making some points though. I hear what he's saying, but hey, it's Jordan Peterson. He gonna teach you a few things. You know what I'm saying? But
de-dignifying, that it disrupts both local harmony within communities, but also makes individuals feel as if they can't really engage in retaliatory, clarificatory discourse against him, because they fear the potential repercussions. Even if it doesn't lead to violence, they just fear it so much that it might irrationally or rationally even drive them.
Oh, it happens all the time. In fact, it's the standard. It's the standard situation. You know, if you look across the world, most societies don't do a good job of either promoting or allowing free speech. I don't know how we ever managed it. It's so unlikely, because it's so hard on people and hard on those who occupy positions of power in tyrannical hierarchies, that I can't believe that any society's ever managed to figure it out at all. So those dangers are always there. And I also think the highest likelihood often is that societies that do put high value on free speech will lose that because it's so difficult to maintain.
Yeah.
So, but
he's got a point.
With regards to hate speech, for example, let's say that things would be much better if there was less hateful speech.
Right.
It's like, seems highly probable to me, especially if you look at the more egregious forms of hateful speech. How best to regulate it? Well, my sense is you let those who wish to utter hateful things do so, and let everyone hear them. Because that's the best way to ensure that what they're saying will be understood and rejected. Now, in order...
He just dropped a... Bro. He just went LeBron James in the fourth quarter with it, bro. Bro, did you hear what he just said, dog? Bro. Listen what he said, bro. Rewind it, bro. Listen what he said. It almost went over the top of my head, bro. Almost went top. Bro, listen what he just said, bro. Listen to this, bro.
And let everyone hear them.
Spitting.
Because that's the best way to ensure that what they're saying will be understood and rejected. Now, in order to posit that, you have to assume that the population composed of sovereign individuals is wiser than it is foolish. And, you know, that's a tight... That's a whole. You might think about it as an axiom of faith, but I do believe it to be the case. I think that if you put the evidence in front of people, by and large, they will do the right thing.
Type shit.
I think that if you the problem with regulating hate speech, it's very simple. Who defines hate? And the answer to that is, over any reasonable period of time, exactly the people you would least want to have define hate. And so the consequences of the regulation become incalculably worse as a problem than the problem that they were designed to deal with.
Oh my God.
To think otherwise is to think in a sort of utopian manner. It's like, well, we have a problem, hate speech. Well, we can come up with a solution and there will be no problems with that solution. It's like, no. No, that isn't how the world works.
Hell no.
You know, when I'm negotiating with my clinical clients, one of the things I always tell them is, often, because they're in difficult circumstances, and often not for psychological reasons, it's like, no, you don't understand. You're screwed both ways. You don't have an option here where you're not going to suffer. That's what it means to be in a bad situation. You're going to pay a price both ways.
Either way.
You can pick your price.
Pick your poison.
Okay, so we're going to have hate speech, or we're going to have the consequences of the arbitrary regulation of hate speech. Well, I know what the consequences are of the arbitrary regulation of hate speech, is that things get a lot worse, because hate's very difficult to define. And that's actually a real problem when you're trying to regulate it, because you...
No, for real, because...
And we're already...
That's so facts, though. So it would be worse. Trying to regulate it would be even... You'd pretty much be doing more worse than good, so might as well just keep it the same. But it's like, it's not just saying, it's to say, like, the point he's making, too, makes a lot of sense, though. Like, listen, bro.
Fine. And that's actually a real problem when you're trying to regulate it, because you have to be able to define it. And we're already at a point where, well, you made someone uncomfortable. Why isn't that hate speech? I mean, I was basically asked that by one of your most outstanding journalists, or your most popular journalists. Well, why should you have the right to say something that's offensive? It's like...
He said, gave me receipts. He gave me receipts.
We can think that through. Let's think that through for a minute. So, I mean, my riposte to her, essentially, although this wasn't directly, it was, that's not a very smart question for a journalist to be asking.
Who?
Right? Because of all people who should never ask that question, would be stand-up comics, right? And journalists. Because that's all they ever do. That's what it means to be a journalist, is to ask a question that's going to be offensive to someone. Who the hell wants to hear about what you've discovered unless it's about something contentious and important? So it was a jaw-dropping question as far as I was concerned. And the fact that it was a jaw-dropping question was part of the reason why that video went viral. Okay, so now let's think about offensiveness as part of hate. Okay, so the first thing we might say is that you really need to think when you have a difficult problem. And a difficult problem is one where there's something at stake. It might be your life, it might be your well-being, but it's, and then we might say, well, there's going to be a diversity of opinions about that particular conundrum if it actually happens to be difficult. And so even to discuss it, because if you discuss it, you're going to discuss option A, it's going to annoy all the people who want option B, or you're going to discuss option B, and that's going to annoy all the people that want option A, and maybe there's 10 options. So if you're going to discuss anything of any real significance whatsoever, you're going to make people hot under the collar, and you're going to risk offending them.
Right.
Okay, so what, you just stop talking about difficult things? And the answer to that is yes, and that's what's happening. But then there's another problem, which is there isn't anything I could conceivably say about anything that isn't going to offend someone if the crowd is large enough.
Yeah.
So you might say, well, if you're talking to 2 people, you can't offend one of them. So you don't get to offend 50% of the population. It's like, okay, let's say I'm talking to 1,000 people, and one person finds what I'm saying offensive. Say, well, that's hateful. It's like, well, that's 1 in 1,000. So should I stop? What if it's 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 1,000,000? Like, where's the cutoff? And you might think, well, we'll work that out. It's like, no.
You can't.
You don't get it. The devil's in the details. You work it out now when you formulate your restrictions on free speech. You don't shunt that off into the future so that it's a problem that'll be solved. Who defines hate? Insoluble problem. Don't regulate it, because you can't define it. That's how it looks to me. So you have the free marketplace of ideas, so to speak, where the collective can render a judgment on the acceptability of an idea on an ongoing basis. And that isn't a great solution, because we don't have great solutions. We have partial, fragmentary solutions that make us somewhat less abjectly miserable than we might be. That's what we have. And if we try to eradicate that kind of risk completely, all we do is magnify a different kind of risk.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, so it was like an open forum at a university? Damn, bro. Imagine getting a chance to ask Jordan Peterson a question or talk about something with him, bro. But that's the video. Hope you enjoyed it. More videos will be dropping soon. Sheesh. Let me know again. My comment section, you can say whatever you want. Let me know in the comments how y'all feel about this video. What you feel about his points. I feel like he was spitting a lot of facts, bro. It makes sense. Again, I understand someone who views something, you know, different from his perspective on this, but I also understand really the point he's making, and it makes so much sense. Like, there's no reason trying to suppress it or whatever, hate speech, because you're just gonna create a whole nother problem when doing it. It was like a light bulb moment, like, whoa, shit you don't even think of. You know what I'm saying? Jordan Peterson got the answers. But that's the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you guys want to see any more Jordan Peterson videos. I'll for sure get to more and more of them, and I appreciate y'all for watching, for supporting, all the love. And hey, we're gonna keep on getting these videos out. So and more videos will be dropping tomorrow. But that's it. Like, comment, subscribe, share if you want to see more videos. Instagram's on the bottom of that screen. Also in the description if you want to hit me up, DM me, message me, do all that shit, so I can keep on spamming these videos out for you. I appreciate y'all so much for watching. Catch y'all next time, homies.